how good season 3 was with Tenet.
Doctor Who's again.
Yeah.
Well, we are. This is the season for Who's, because weren't they the people in the Grinch town?
They were. Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
All the Who's down in Whoville.
Dr. Whoville.
Dr. Whoville. Now that'd be cool.
I'm surprised someone hasn't done that yet. Okay, well,
sure
so
they
we're going to
have.
get things started because we are in fact live for the season finale of HawkTalk. That's right. Hawkeye has come to an end after 6 episodes. For the season finale of why
The multiverse is cracking.
All right, everybody, turn off the volume on their laptop.
Coming through, and I can't stop it.
Wait, there's Rhino. Oh, there's Craven.
I would have loved to have seen Paul Giamatti come out like Spider.
Now, we're not talking about Spider-Man No Way Home tonight because there are some people, believe it or not, like 3 people on the planet who have not seen it yet. So we'll stay away from the Spideyverse for tonight. We're going to focus on.
We're going to stay in the Broverse.
Yes.
Tom Holland shows up.
That would have been incredible.
The only other spoiler is you don't have to stay to the end credits now. Anyway.
Well, but if you did stay for the end
really
credits,
want
you
to.
got to see the full musical version of
A dandy
I Could Do This All
musical
Day.
number.
Yeah,
Yes.
Of Captain America. Yeah.
Yes.
Rogers. The music.
Rogers.
Yes. But all right, so this is the end of 6 episodes. I can't believe we've been doing this show for a month and a half.
What are we going to do next week? Oh.
We will talk about that later. We'll get to next week's show soon. But anyhow, okay. Don is all right. Don could not join us tonight in person, so he's hanging out here in the chat, and it looks like we're going to be doing nothing but reading Don's chats all night.
Cosplaying as Paul Giamatti? Is that what he's saying?
Nice. Okay, so before we get any further, I'm going to do introductions for HawkTalk, the big season finale. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. I'm joined once more by Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of the Spoiler Room, Will Lady Hawk Johnson of the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. Don Shanahan of the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast also is hanging out in the chat. Mike Crowley of 25 Years Later, and you'll probably agree, and David Fowlie of Keeping It Real. Welcome, everybody, to the big finale show. Now, Will, I want to start with you because you were, I was going to say irrationally excited, but I'll just say extremely enthusiastic, exuberant, and I think propping up the Hawk Stan energy for Annie Banks, who could not be here.
Yes, bummer.
So I'm going to leave it to you to synopsize this episode in a spoiler light fashion, because we'll get into spoilers in a bit.
Okay. Well, the criminal conspiracy that has been developing all wraps up very nicely in a bow, because that's what they said. The holiday season, I don't remember the tagline. It says, all great things come with a bow or something like that. It's a Hawkeye pun. It's adorable. But no, but basically the criminal conspiracy comes to a head. I don't think this is a spoiler because this person is a massive part of the episode. But we discover that Kingpin is obviously the mastermind behind the tracksuits, which I'm still confused whether that is a good thing or a bad thing that makes him look good or bad, because I'm not sure how seriously I'm supposed to take the tracksuits. I've been saying that every week because some of them are clowns and some of them are
literally
deadly. So anyways, we have the basically the summary of everything. Everything's coming to a head in where they, as I told my daughter we were watching, where they film SNL down there at what's it called?
Rockefeller.
30 Rock.
So 30 you've got 30 Rock. So you've got let's see, we have a grand ball of which Clint and Kate are attending to try to protect the mother from Kingpin's men. We've got Echo trying to track down her partner and Kingpin and the bishops and everybody else. You got Yelena trying to get on to Clint. You've got LARPers pretending they're Avengers. It's basically the culmination of 6 episodes. It's what they call sometimes in MCU circles that third act where, you know, instead of it being just a lot of CGI and crazy stuff, it's some actual action, some impressive action too, I might say. Basically, all the characters come together. I'm not doing a great job, but all the characters are basically thrown together at Rockefeller Center to hash out all of their differences in a great editing sequence. I got to hand it to the editor. I mean, at one point we were literally watching like 5 different interactions happen at the same time that basically resolve all of the issues that have been going on for the previous 5 episodes. So
Very well said.
well, I thought it was bad, but all right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you got all the detail in there, but none of the spoilers, I don't think. We do find out a resolution to that watch, which we got to talk about when we go into. Well, no, I'm not going to pull the trigger just yet. But I do want to get a bead on what people in general thought of this finale episode. Does it wrap things up nicely in that bow? Is it lacking? Is it strong? Just kind of high level reactions without giving anything away, because I've got some definite thoughts. So I'm going to cede the floor to my companions. David Fowlie, what did you make of episode 6? So this is Christmas? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, it totally delivered for me. There weren't a whole lot of surprises, and that's fine. I knew that, no spoilers. I mean, Clint would be reuniting with his family at the end. I knew that was going to happen. And yeah, I thought that it was quite impressive the way everything was tied up. Some things, there was only one little thing to me that was left a little kind of dangling. But and I'll get to that later. But yeah, I thought that everything was, kind of coming together really nicely and firing in all cylinders as far as what they provided as far as the drama, the humor, and the action. This, what is the 4th Marvel Disney series
this year?
Yeah, this year. I think it might be my favorite. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's probably my favorite.
I could definitely understand that. They've all been so different, but
sure.
This, I think it's kind of perfect that this movie came out, or not this movie, this series came out and wrapped up around the same time as we're getting Spider-Man No Way Home,
right?
Because it definitely has that kind of like the perfect comic book TV show / movie feel to it. But that, yeah, it's just my initial thought.
The 5th series, believe it or not, the 5th series.
What was the?
What If?
Well, yeah, okay, live action, yeah.
Well, I guess we technically have to count that because of what we may or may not see in Doctor Strange too. But I'm not happy about it. Anyway, Mike Crowley, what did you make of So This Is Christmas?
Yeah, well, it was very Marvel-esque in its style, where it has all the jokes and all the quips, but it also has the drama, but it kind of thematically works all at the same time. And now having read, darn, I don't have my copy of it. But yes, but having read the one of the Hawkeye comics, is very faithful to sort of the overall voice of it, and it kind of makes me understand. Thank you. Yes, it makes me understand the overall sort of style to it. But other than stylistically, I do like how with all these other Marvel shows, you are watching something that is a character study. So, for instance, if you watch like WandaVision and Loki, those are sort of like the sort of high vision shows, right? And these are sort of more the regular light of a Marvel films are like. So you have Captain America, or you have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then you have something like this. I think this is a little better than that. I like the high concept shows a little better. But for grounding the character for a street level comic hero, it's I don't feel like a lot of time is wasted throughout the series. I think the final episode's big reveal, you get a lot of payoffs with him. Some of the payoffs I think are a little silly, like really he survived that, okay? But overall, I think it did what it wanted to do and wrapped it in a nice little bow, as everyone said. So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. Now, for the one you've all been waiting for, the DC shill himself, Mark the Movie Man.
I thought they wrapped up the Thrawn storyline very well. They brought in Black Lightning, the Flash. They did that crossover. I mean, it's only a short season, but I thought, we're talking about the other short season. Okay, never mind.
The other Arrow related show. Yes.
The other Arrow related show, not the other Armageddon. No, I enjoyed it. I liked how it wrapped up. It's one where I feel a few of the things is where I sit as being not a Marvel, being into the Marvel stuff. They handled it better in No Way Home than here, just because, and I've had this discussion with my friend, I feel like I'm missing out on a few references, particularly of what they're big on, like, you know, the Watch and namely the Watch mostly, and possibly, you know, Kingpin and Jack. I've learned all through everybody here, and I have looked up some stuff, but it's just one of those things where overall I really enjoyed the episode. I thought they tied it up nicely. I love the exploration with you know, Jeremy Renner. I love what they've done with Hawkeye during this, you know, really giving his character some exploration. This is what I wanted from him, you know. And I love Haley Steinfeld, and I like how her character has grown just over the short span of this experience with Hawkeye. I like how they progressed that as well. Yeah, they wrap up a lot of stuff in here. The sheer keep spawning things at the end of Bros was a little much for me. Even, I mean, I know it's a superhero movie, and I knew what they were going for, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm just kind of letting that go. But at the same time, I'm like, wow. I'm like, where it was like, you know, they found, you know, they found a spawn spot, and now they're just farming for XP, you know. But I liked how they handled everything, and yeah, they do wrap nearly everything up. What happened with, which we'll get into the spoilers, we are talking spoilers, what they happened with the main character, they left that
Hawkeye?
With the main bad guy that they revealed at the end of the last episode. They
Kingpin.
left that, Kingpin. They left it ambiguous with him. They left it ambiguous for the most. I'm going to be surprised that they had such a buildup and such a fan saying, we need D'Onofrio in this as Kingpin, to have him last one episode. Really?
We don't know that.
Right. That's what I mean. Is his death is. That's what I mean. Is
building with the camera.
We heard a gunshot, but we didn't see him get shot.
We're gonna find out that she wasn't the one that shot it.
Right. I mean, Kingpin, there's no way he's going to die. So that one, I'm like, okay, her brother possibly survived. Well, maybe as well. Echo, they didn't have him completely die on camera. He was still breathing when Hawkeye left him. So, I mean, there is a potential for that, you know. But overall, I like how it wrapped up. I didn't really leave anything hanging. It had a great payoff. The fight scene, as ridiculous as so many Bros were, the ice rink scene was really exciting. I was more enjoying the interaction after all that between Yelena and Hawkeye with Clint, and what they were doing with Clint, and how Jeremy Renner plays that character, because I think it's subtle, but you see how he's playing this character, and it's brilliant. It's like, wow, he's got just this nuance to him, to where he's kind of fighting back, but he's like, you know, you want to kill me?
Well, let's take there's a lot to,
but
as they
let
said,
the stand. We'll let the stand go next. So.
Well, I just want to say that there is sort of an invincibility question that pops up in this show regarding Clint and also Kingpin. I know the Kingpin, and I was keeping an eye on this because it seemed that in some scenes he was just Vincent D'Onofrio, but in other scenes, particularly when Kate is fighting him, she's like running and jumping and almost climbing on top of him. That's more in line with sort of the comics and almost what you see in Into the Spider-Verse, where Wilson Fisk he's not a mutant and he's not a superhero, but he is just literally a larger than life crime boss. Like, he takes up the full frame and he towers over people by a good couple of feet. But then and they kind of do that with some of the camera trickery. But in other instances, he's the same height as Eleanor, or maybe a little bit taller. But certainly in terms of what he can take, I was really getting he's got, radioactive spider vibes or something, because he gets hit by a car at like 50 miles an hour, thrown through a department store window, and then he still gets up and fights Kate Barton. And then later he's, after he gets blown up, Kate Bishop. That's the thing is, both
He adopted her.
dad's
He adopted
dead.
her.
I was gonna say dad's dead. Mom's going up the
Yeah.
river. She's gonna end up in that family soon. But so that's the thing is like he's like stumbling out of the wreckage and then he meets up with Maya and I'm like, fine, sure. But and I kind of let that go. But then when Clint is fighting Yelena on the ice, she takes out that baton and starts beating the crap out of him. And we hear like the impact. And he's just sitting there, like sitting on the floor, like kind of covering with his arms. Like, I don't know how he's just not breaking all over the place. And he's still sitting there having a reasonable conversation. There's just like those little details. I'm like, I can't get invested in this scene because I don't know how I'm watching what I'm watching.
It's been a problem. I had the same problem with Black Widow, the movie, because I remember there's a scene in Black Widow where Natasha falls off like a 12-story building, bounces off an air conditioner, and then lands on her feet. And
because she did the pose. She did the pose. She knows
like
how
a
to
cat.
roll.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. She's just like, no big deal, I'm good. I mean, they suffer so much damage in that movie, and it has been a little bit of a problem. I mean, the car thing goes way back to even Iron Man 2 when Whiplash got hit by a car multiple times and was fine. So it's kind of a Marvel problem, I think. But
That happens to Mickey Rourke all the time.
People take unbelievable amounts of damage and they're fine. Like if you look at Eddie Phil, look at like Die Hard. How many times has John McClane been dead at that point?
But I think that's the point though, is usually in those movies, you're sitting there, you're watching something for 2 or 3 hours, and usually those points come in the middle of crazy action scenes where you almost forget that these characters aren't superhumans. Wherein in this scene, it takes place during a quieter scene. It's a confrontation. It's a fight for sure. But she's just like yelling at him and he's not really fighting back. And then she starts beating him. I'm like, this isn't, if they had been doing this crazy multiple cutting, like Kate and Fisk fighting and, Clown or would-be Clown and Maya and all this stuff. And it was like really intense. I think I would have been wrapped up in it, but it slows down a little bit for that confrontation. I'm like that the realism is, they think they could have taken a step back.
There's also a power imbalance thing going on because, like, to me, the way that they set up the characters, I know that Kate Bishop can handle herself, but to me, like someone like Yelena is miles ahead of her, but they kind of had them equal in terms of their fight. Now I don't know if that's because Yelena's backing up a little bit, but then they've made it clear that Hawkeye or Clint Barton, when he's Ronin especially, can wipe out anybody. And he, like I said, he might also be kind of not fighting back fully with full committal because he knows he's in the right and he wants to let her know what's going on. But he gets kind of easily worked over by Yelena. So it's kind of, there's a little bit of a power imbalance too, like to fit the plot, I guess, And
I don't want to spend the whole night on this topic, so I'll let it go. But it's not so much the idea of him not fighting back; it's the idea of his bones not fighting back.
His forearms.
Well, you see, he's broken his bones so many times he has steel rods in his arms now.
I was going to say
it could be, never know. He has so many pins and rods in his body that
his arm is all arrows, actually.
Yeah,
so
actually,
you open his skin and pull out.
Shoots them out of his wrist.
He just shoots them out.
That's where he really makes special arrows.
Yeah,
I mean, I think like when Kingpin was introduced in the comics, I mean, he was always this like larger than life, basically starting off as a mob boss, and everybody feared him, and the city is mine type of mentality was there. But it wasn't until like say the 80s when Frank Miller got a hold of him with Daredevil, where he became this, strong presence to be reckoned with, a powerful presence. He wasn't just a guy in a white oversized jacket. I mean, he could take you down and he could take you out, and he would take out a whole army of Yakuzas and the Hand, and he was training. So Frank Miller really made him something more than what he was.
My favorite Daredevil run, the Born Again.
Born Again's the best, man.
He just, like in the middle of that, like Kingpin just works Daredevil where he's like incapacitated, like in a hospital. Like he's get him
out of here. What's going on? Get him out.
I don't know. He's got this thing.
Jeez. But yeah, I mean, I think that with Into the Spider-Verse, you got this exaggerated, animated, oversized version, which was cool and it was fun. It's kind of like what Bill Sienkiewicz did in the '80s at one point as well. So he's always been, larger than life, and I think sometimes it is. It would be, initially when I watched the Daredevil series on Netflix, I was like, okay, how are they going to do this? And they did a good job, because you need an actor who's going to portray him with intensity, but it could also be somewhat like big. And I'm not talking like size, but just like the performance can be big. I mean, you even saw it in this episode where sometimes he's like, no,
okay, yeah.
I did not appreciate that. I like Vincent D'Onofrio as an actor, and I think he could play a really good Kingpin. But in this, I think he's so big because he spent his entire life chewing scenery. I mean, it was just really yikes.
Yeah, seriously, I get how he's incorporating what was it, Governor Pyle or whatever from
Gomer
Metal
Pyle
Jacket, but it's he always has that thing where he's screwed up in the head, and he's been doing that his whole career. And yeah, that was my one problem with Vincent D'Onofrio, always as Kingpin. He sounds like he's constipated or something.
Yeah, check him out in the eyes of Tammy Faye.
I want you to understand that
he plays a great Jerry Falwell in the eyes of Tammy Faye.
Awesome.
Really good.
DVD. Yeah. High protein scenery. Yes.
Is that just us that you're looking at, or
with genius lines like that? Why isn't he on the show?
Seriously, well, it is all about family. So the other question I have, this was a real eyebrow raiser to me, and that sounds really bad, like something out of Pink Floyd's The Wall, eyebrow raiser. But no, yeah,
the opening act for Pink Floyd.
Nice.
Yeah.
The character that the other character we've been waiting for to be revealed as a big villain in this show. What the hell did they do to the swordsman?
I love it.
Oh, it was great. He was just some dude. He was just goofy and nice.
Oh, that guy? Yeah,
right.
We should probably take him away.
There's something else. There's something going on. I don't know who this clown character is you guys bring up, but you think he's the clown from the comics?
No, you're talking about Kazi.
Kazi is Yelena's friend guy that betrayed her, and
Ian's
talking about Jack, the swordsman.
The guy always plays
the father.
I thought it was hilarious when they're at the dinner and he shows up fresh out of I guess getting arrested, and he's wearing a sword, and Clint's like, yeah, bad form.
Don is saying in the comments it's pussified swordsman, but I gotta say this. Everyone else was going for knees and legs,
he was just
all them.
I know he was killing people.
He was slashing guys.
He had 11 body kills. It was amazing.
And he was loving it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was making quips while he was killing. It was
I love it.
Dude, you got chill.
Here's the thing. I liked. I've liked this actor. I've liked this performance all along. But it's almost back to that Mephisto thing, where you're kind of waiting for a big revelation, a big moment, or at least a clue that something's going to happen with this character. And I just get this feeling he's just going to be like the wacky dad who can show up with his sword anytime, young Kate gets into trouble. Could he have some kind of a dark turn? I was almost waiting for something bad to happen to Eleanor to flip him over to the dark side or something. It's I will have my revenge.
No, he was Red Herring was his middle name. So, that's what because in the end, he was just as nice, relatively speaking, as Eleanor was saying he was the whole time. And I thought that was cool.
But Eleanor is also a criminal. Huh?
Yeah, true.
That's true. But, she was probably putting herself with someone that could make her, not feel like a criminal because she was with a good guy. You know what I mean? I don't know. And she set him up right away, which was pretty sad, but yeah.
But there was also those shady dealings with Armand in the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
The thing is, Jack is such an, I'm going to use a word that Don told me on Twitter I can't use without backing up. He's such an uneven character throughout this series. I like his personality and everything, but it feels like, as far as what he was written as a red herring to show up and be suspicious in scenes that call for attention to be drawn away from something else they're building to, as opposed to this is Jack. Here's what he's going to accomplish in the series, and here's what he's going to mean. He just he starts out, he's shifty, he's villainous, then he's kind of affable and goofy, but it may just be a facade because he's trying to worm his way into this thing. And also, he's the same character we believe from the comics who's destined to become this villain, so everyone's going to be thinking about that. But then at the end, no, he just is kind of on the side of good, and he's the wacky swordplay guy. I enjoyed this from beginning to end, but when I step back and look at it, I'm like, what's going on with Jack?
I recently watched episode 4 and 5 today to catch up. My wife and daughter had to catch up. And, watching Jack in those episodes, it reminded me of one of the reasons why he was in this show, and it's to kind of help with Kate's trajectory. So, she was onto him, and she did some investigating and, digging to find out, what was going on with him. And, of course, she didn't know the whole story. Elena basically framed him and everything, but it establishes her as somebody who can look into things and investigate. And, there's the whole, that episode where Clint was like, yeah, you did a good job here with with this Jack guy. I mean, he's got this Sloan thing and everything. And so at that point, we only knew so much, but each episode, it kind of gives us a chance to see, more about what Kate's growing into.
Right. And I appreciate that. But again, that Jack is more of a walking catalyst than an actual character.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying it's, when I look back on it, because I had kind of these high hopes, and maybe they're unreasonable expectations, because when
there's so many characters.
But back in episode 1 of this show, you guys are like, oh, that's Jack, he's the swordsman. I'm like, oh, who's the swordsman? Oh, he's this kick-ass villain from the comics. I'm like, oh, where's the turn? What? No. He's just goofy wannabe dad. Yeah. And that's, sure. All right. Don says, I'll allow it because you explained it and not just drop the term and leave. Well played. Thank you. And I was going for that, Don, because that's what you were talking about on Twitter, just not like uneven bombing and moving on. But yeah. So what else? Oh, can we talk about, we already kind of touched on it and we're jumping all over the place here, but that wonderful fight climax on the ice with all of the different crazy arrows. I thought the was it the freeway or the highway chase a few episodes ago was pretty kick-ass. This really sealed the deal as far as what this technology can do. I love the montage of building the arrows.
Montage, yeah.
Right. And I also love the miniaturization of the bro van.
That was the best.
Carried away. That is going to end up a mid-credit sequence in phase 5 somewhere. What happened to the bros with that owl?
Love it.
Well, I hope they don't leave that van there and it just grows all everyone's ice skating.
Well, no, the owl took it away.
I was going to crush it.
Okay.
Which is
depending where he drops
dark.
it.
I like that.
That's hilarious. I like she was concerned. She's like, well, what's happened to them? And he's like, I don't know. I got to ask Scott about that.
So is that owl like an AI owl, or is that like
I think it's Scott's owl.
It's one of the owls from Blade Runner. It's weird.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there's an owl character in Daredevil. So
what was great about that scene is even though they play it as a gimmick with a joke, it shows you at that moment right there, even more so through the other moments, Kate Bishop's turn to be the superhero we want her to be and that she has to become, because she didn't hesitate. She didn't look scared. She pulled the right arrow she knew what she was going to use as the van was coming. It's not like, oh, let's move out of the way. She just stood there and waited and went flip, just like, and that's a change from the little bit more kinetic Kate Bishop we've seen at the beginning of this series when she was trying to fight. She was just kind of doing arrows and here she was very measured in this battle on the ice, and then to end it with this kind of gimmick, but at the same time, it shows you her character is becoming the next Hawkeye. Just she knew what arrow, she knew the situation and everything, and she stood firm, and trusted her arrow. And I liked that scene. I know it was a great gimmick too, but
it's great.
I think it also showed her character kind of flip that switch finally.
Well,
I mean, speaking of knowing like what arrow, it's like I wish throughout this whole season we would have had at least one montage or something with like, how do you know what arrow you're grabbing? You know, is there easy? There's a little rubberized thing. This one has rubber band. This one, I'm like, you're going like this, right? How do you know?
My nitpick on that, because I think that's a fantastic question, David. It may be to be answered. You know, Kevin Feige, I know he's watching this,
Right.
or will be. No, during that montage where they're putting the arrows together in the apartment, Kate has one of those little tape label makers, and I was just wondering, you know, the arrows are so precise. Does the weight of the tape label like offset the accuracy of the arrows, or do they account for that as they're putting them together? Like, oh no, this is 0.1 ounces lighter than it should be.
We're in a universe with a talking tree and a
raccoon.
god from 9 realms.
He's an alien. He's an alien.
Yeah.
He's an alien.
But you're worried about the label maker on the
Yeah,
I am.
But I mean, I'll
It's a
just
deep
say
problem.
the only thing
I'll
that threw
sleep
me
over it.
off in terms of realism, that stuff didn't throw me off because I'm like, yeah, we have a talking raccoon that fires machine guns in this series. Like, I don't care. But the thing that like bothered me is like when they had all the little explosive arrows underneath Kingpin, and it just knocks him back, but yet it destroys things around him, although it was right on top of him. I was just like, all right, I know like he's strong, but wouldn't that like blow his whole chest open in his face?
He's a big dude.
That would just be more debris.
Well, it's like when she shot him or with an arrow, right, like that, and he's like, ugh. And I'm like, obviously he's got something underneath.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's Kingpin. It's like
Plot
you
armor.
can't,
He's
you
wearing
can't,
plot armor.
You can't miss him if you're shooting at him. So he might as well wear like full body Kevlar or something.
That's the way I took it, is that he had Kevlar on it. And
yeah.
true, if he had a Kevlar vest underneath or some protective underneath, which again, yeah, he's Kingpin. He's going out in public.
You can't miss
He's going
him.
to be a target. He's a very large target. You don't have to be a sharpshooter to, you know, you can throw a snowball and just hit his shoulder just by blindly throwing it at him.
Yeah.
I think he had something underneath, especially with the way the arrow reacts. And, you know, that could have absorbed some impact.
Well, that leaves a question. Is that the one instance where we don't have a trick arrow in this episode? Because we never really got to see what it did.
That was a
It
trick
just
arrow,
seemed-
though. That was all those arrowheads that he broke in half. She used his cufflink to go like that, and it activated the one, and then it affected all the other ones into an explosion.
Right.
The one that he snapped off?
Oh, no, you mean the one...
you mean the one that
You mean on his
Yeah,
chest?
the chest, yeah.
Oh, I think that was a regular arrow.
That was just a regular arrow.
Right, but I'm saying like there's like all the other arrows in this episode like do something, and that was the one that like she chose to shoot the Kingpin with the one arrow that doesn't do anything.
Well,
like she could have shot something to encase him in gel.
Yeah, she could have shot him in the head with
I think she was just trying to figure out, okay, what can take him down? I'm going to save my major arrows for, you know, final.
So I'm going to spend all the important arrows on the bros, but the Kingpin, I'm just going to give him the
There
weakest.
was that whole scene where she was above them and she goes, "Hey, bros," and she'd used regular arrows to take him out.
Yeah.
Sure. That's right. Yeah, I stand corrected.
Really easy to kill him right there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the non-death scene towards the end of this episode, and then I want to get to the watch before I forget. But so yeah, Maya encounters Kingpin. There are a few great confrontations in the show. I'm glad she's
got her hair down.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. But I love that this is the longest. Someone is saying this is the longest of the Disney Marvel episodes at just about an hour long.
15
and
minutes.
yeah, it's great that it's I know we've talked about the climax of WandaVision being kind of like this big CGI fight, and I really enjoyed that episode. But what I loved about this episode is it gives time to breathe. It's not wall-to-wall action, and there's some really great character scenes in this. But as far as the confrontation between Maya and Wilson Fisk, she has a gun pointed at him, possibly pointed at his head. The camera moves away. We hear the gunshot, but then we also hear, did you guys notice the it sounded like a dump truck falling over. So something major hit the ground. It wasn't just the gunshot. You heard something.
When the Kingpin falls,
I mean, he's a, yeah.
But that's my question. I also would be incredulous if we found out that Vincent, although I wouldn't put it past them to have Vincent D'Onofrio come out and make a big deal about returning to this show, only to be in it for an episode and a 10th.
he'll
but
be back
I think
in Echo.
yeah, we'll have to see. I also wonder what we're setting up Echo to become, because I could see it as them positioning her to be the next Kingpin. I mean,
Well-
aside from Loki, we haven't really had a villain-centric TV show, which I think
Yeah.
could be an interesting idea, like her rising to take over control, kind of like the sister in at the end of Shang-Chi.
I feel like she really wants to be done.
Mhm.
And there's a lot to her that we haven't even touched on. Like her abilities to mimic things, like hasn't really even been touched on here.
I think it's too close. I think it's too close to Black Widow to do that yet because of Taskmaster.
Yeah. But I think with Taskmaster, that's downloaded and programmed, whereas with her, it's this intuitive, almost natural ability, kind of like Daredevil's senses. Now there is that scene, where she's holding the gun. It's straight out of the comics, and the way that ended up is the gunshot wound up blinding Kingpin, and he wound up basically Matt Murdock blind, for a while. Got his vision back, of course. It's comics, but I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is the camera pans off. We hear the gunshot. We never see it happen. He could have grabbed the gun. I believe. Here's my prediction that Echo will open up with a different version of that scene.
Mhm.
You mean you mean we'll see what happens, or you're talking
We'll
like
see
a
what-
retcon of some kind?
We'll see what happened.
Yeah,
I see.
The camera will stay there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happened. And I think, regardless of him loving each other, whatever, and him being this kind of uncle to her because of her betrayal, he's going to want to probably throw everything at her. And I think she really just wants to be done with the whole mob scene and everything. She wants to just be on her own.
So is Echo? I'm not familiar with the character really from the comics. So is she a villain in that series?
Starts out that way. She
Okay.
starts out as somebody who is basically like a niece. It's kind of like this story where she was the daughter of one of Kingpin's, say, right hands, and he had him killed, like in this show, and he basically kind of took care of her indirectly and made sure that she was provided for, knew her abilities, made sure they were nurtured, made sure she learned the martial arts and all this stuff, and to groom her to become a weapon for him.
All right. Well, because I don't know anything about the TV show. First of all, when is that coming out on the slate?
We
Is
don't-
that
Honestly, we
2022?
don't
Have they
know
announced
when the
it?
next Marvel Disney Plus shows are coming out. I don't
Okay.
know if Echo is going to be before She-Hulk. We know She-Hulk and Moon Knight are in the can. They haven't given release dates yet. They haven't given release dates for Obi-Wan either. So we'll see what happens.
And I wouldn't suspect the She-Hulk and Moon Knight probably aren't going to come out till closer to multiverse, depending on where those stories fall in.
I would be hard pressed to believe that Disney wouldn't release a new Marvel show before May,
Right.
Which is
I-
Doctor Strange 2.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe they have Echo in the can. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at Book of Boba Fett starts next week. I mean, if you think about them kind of on a rotation of
Back
we
to
had a
back,
bunch of Marvel, now we're gonna have a Star Wars, then we could do 2 Marvels, and then
Mhm.
Doctor Strange, and then Echo in the fall or something. I don't know. We're getting into speculation line. I'm just trying to figure out where this character might go.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could go a lot of places. Like right now, what's really weird is Marvel has this kind of limited comic with Echo where she has the Phoenix Force,
Oh my God.
which is crazy,
Well, we know that whenever Marvel does a Phoenix story, it's
Mhm.
great. So
Can be.
let's do it.
There's
Let's
only
do it.
one good Phoenix story, but yeah.
One of the
Yeah, go
sorry, I was just going to say with the Echo, the way they set it up and the way I took it is, yeah, she could have killed him. We know she probably didn't kill Kingpin. I would see it more as her shooting like past his head. I mean, like it'd be loud right by his ear, but like past.
So
him
the
at
sound
end.
would echo.
It would be fitting if she made him deaf like her.
Right. And the reason I say that is because, especially in this episode, they play at her realizing everything she's come to believe in has been false. And she's been playing off her rage. And she even confronts Kingpin saying, she puts up the front saying, you know what? I'm good now. I'm your weapon. Give me a couple days off. And he's just like, yeah, okay, no, she's turned. Because she's come to terms with it and she doesn't necessarily want to be a killer anymore. Right. So even as she's angry at Kingpin and wants to shoot him, the way they've set this character up, they haven't said it, but the way I interpreted it anyway, and I could be making lake out of a puddle, but is that she wouldn't kill him because if she kills Kingpin, that makes her just like
she's a target
at the end. She gives into that rage that she realizes has been misplaced, has been built on false stories, and in the end, she might injure him or, like I said, make him deaf, like just blow the gun right next to his ear or something, and then walk off. That way,
well, there's still this. I'm glad you're talking about this, Mark, because it sort of brings to mind another issue I had with this episode that we kind of talked about last week or the week. I think it was might be last week, and that is Yelena. She kind of has the same issue as Echo does with this disillusionment and having her illusions broken. As we talked about, she's like this world-class spy. She would have access to people who would have access to the truth about what happened to Natasha, and yet there's this whole long drawn out. I think it's a lovely fight scene and a nice resolution between her and Clint. But the whole time when she's sitting there thinking, no, it's a lie, you're a liar. I'm like, come on, you are not this thick.
Yeah, that was my problem, because then like she all of a sudden knew Clint was a good guy because he could whistle the same thing her sister did. It's like the two were Avengers for years.
I mentioned this before in another show of ours where I just find it really odd that, look, we established, in this episode that Clint told Yelena that Natasha talked about her all the time. Well, what? Come on. You don't think that Natasha talked about Clint all the time with Yelena? I mean, I don't know. Granted, he spent more time with her. Got it. But it's still just like what he was Natasha's best friend, so why wouldn't Yelena had any kind of mention of him? I don't know.
I got a question too, and I want to talk about Yelena in a second, but I have a question for you guys. So this is where I'm a little confused because they make it very clear in Black Widow that Julia Louis-Dreyfus hired her, but they keep saying in episode 5 and 6 that
Eleanor
hired her. I'm confused. Does anyone have an explanation for that?
I kind of mentioned this last week. I don't know if it quite adds up, but I feel like Eleanor recruited, maybe retained the services of Yelena to be part of this group that she's putting together, along with not Captain America
from Contessa or whatever.
Right. So perhaps Eleanor reached out to this syndicate that Julia Louis-Dreyfus has put together and said, "I need an assassin to take out Clint and Barton." She's like, "Oh, I've got an ex-Black Widow here.
Would you like a U.S. agent or a Black Widow?"
Yeah. Right. So in a sense, it's almost like a shorthand to not complicate the idea of like, yes, my mom hired someone who hired you to kill. It was like, no, my mom hired you.
And see, I almost took it as she may not have even necessarily directly been the one who legitimately hired Elena. She may have gone to Kingpin and said, "Hey, I need someone taken out," and Kingpin knows Contessa or whatever.
Yeah.
And Contessa brings in Yelena that way, possibly. You know what I'm saying is, even though she said, "Well, I hired Yelena," she could just say, "I hired an assassin," in that she asked Kingpin, "Get me an assassin," taken as
take her out.
Take this, Clint Barton out. And so she interprets that as, I hired her, even though she didn't like directly like give money to, you know, the sensei to get the ninja from Japan. No, just sorry, wrong movie.
Nice.
You know, get the Black Widow. She did it through proxy, but she considers herself hiring the ninja that way. So, I mean, the Black Widow that way.
Well, I just have to say, I can't let this stand. Don, in this comment, you're saying that's why Vera Farmiga has been acting beneath herself all season. Look, I think that she has been doing what the role calls for.
Exactly.
And I would also say you are on the precipice. I'm surprised Sajiwa isn't here because you're on the precipice of accusing her of being a regular
actor.
Yeah.
She's doing the same
Speaking of
thing.
Florence Pugh, she did tear up in this movie. She did.
Yeah,
I did too. I wanted to say because I didn't get to get my initial thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, we never got to.
I thought. Well, you gave
I
a
wanted-
synopsis.
That
Yeah.
was a
I
summary.
wanted to say that the Yelena scene, since we're talking about it, was the second time I cried in this episode. Now I'm a big crier with a lot of stuff, and it might have something to do with the fact that I'm mentally ill and depressed all the time, but it's also because it's a good show. But I cried with the whole "I loved her, Me Too" thing. I thought that was beautiful, and that goes to. I want to talk about Farmiga because I think she's doing the same thing Clint is doing, or I should say Jeremy Renner is doing, where he's, you know, sometimes there's the actors who go big and they scream and they do that stuff, and then there's some of the actors that do that subtle stuff. There's a lot of stuff behind Vera's eyes in this series where you can see there's a lot of burden, there's a lot of weight on her shoulders. She plays everything subtle. She's not an emotional person. And I think the same thing is with Jeremy Renner. He's playing this character beaten down, weight of the world on his shoulders. He's not screaming and crying about everything. He's just giving what his character is at. So I actually think she did a fabulous job because I think it's very easy to make the potential rich woman who's in charge of everything. It's really easy to make that cheesy and hammy. And she was really like, I believed her that maybe she did get in under this because of her husband and is caring about her daughter and is trying to juggle all these chainsaws at once and is handling it like a pro. And I actually thought her performance was excellent and consistent throughout.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely Eleanor showed a lot of strength in this episode to just have that talk with Kingpin, knowing that, you know, he could, knowing what he's capable of. You know,
I was surprised she made it out of that office alive.
I know, right?
But I think Donna has the best rebuttal to your rather eloquent, heartfelt statement, Will, which is yawn.
Save that for the History Fit show.
We've had this before because I talked about how Iron Man 3 is a very personal film to me because it deals with a lot of like trauma and just dealing with a lot of personal issues with mental health. And yeah, that was pretty much his response to that was yawn. So I'm used to it, which really boosts my morale, guys. So
well, you've got a fellow Iron Man 3 defender in this group. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, David's right. Shane Black, it's a Christmas movie, of course. Someone needs to do like a Shane Black Christmas marathon at the
That would be
music
great.
box. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, and Lethal Weapon.
Right.
I'm actually showing my daughter tonight Nice Guys, which is top 5 all time for me.
Wow.
Nice Guys is awesome. It's so underrated.
Anyone notice how the end of this episode kind of ended like Lethal Weapon, where Briggs and Murdoch return home, and here was like Hawkeye.
I brought some strays home.
Yeah,
Martin Riggs.
Whatever. Home. Yeah, I got some strays, and of course that's when they officially reveal Lucky's name, you know, and it was just kind of sort of like an off camera. I was like, it was very subtle. It was just, come on, Lucky.
That's where we can talk about the watch.
Can I say one thing real quick? I was just going to say they did a very clever editing trick that I liked too, where she's trying to say what her name should be, like and stuff like that. And they said, well, actually, I was thinking, and then it cuts to Hawkeye, and I was like, nice.
That was cool.
Was hilarious, I have to say.
Anyways, sorry.
I was surprised he didn't say something like that Matthew Broderick movie.
Yeah, that would be great.
But all right, so yeah, The Watch. Now, Mark, you had mentioned that you were talking to your friend, and this is one of the points of confusion about like not being a Marvel fan. You might feel kind of lost. I might be wrong here, but I did not take that as like a deep cut lore thing. This felt more to me almost like new series information that's going to pay off later. Do we know that? I'm totally open to being wrong here. Do we know that Clint Barton? Well, depending on which Hawkeye comics you read, I mean, like the Matt Fraction book, he wasn't married,
No.
so I don't know how new. Like, is this life with the wife and the kids? Is this a construct of the MCU, or
Well,
does it have basis in
yeah.
the source material? And was she an Agent 19 of Shield?
She was.
Well, this shows you how smart Tony Stark is, because he makes that joke in Age of Ultron where he goes, "That's an agent." Those
Yeah.
are little agents. Like, so I mean, she was an agent, so it was true. So
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hawkeye.
But this is a surprise, right? I mean, aside from the Tony Stark joke, we're supposed to be like, oh my God, she was part of Shield.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be.
yes.
She is this universe's like Mockingbird, basically, because Agent 19 was her title when she was a Shield agent, Bobby Mockingbird, and they split up. You know, for a while, Hawkeye, Mockingbird, a bunch of other Avengers were on the West Coast Avengers. They were an item, they were together, and then they weren't. Didn't have any kids or anything like that, but that's basically this series is establishing Linda Cardellini as, you know, the MCU's Mockingbird. You know, don't know if she had any type of, if she took on the mantle of Mockingbird after being an agent, if she went straight from Shield agent to, you know, let's start a family and go into the grid. I would assume so, but you know, basically, you know, he hinted at, and I think in episode 4 when they broke into Maya's apartment, that, you know, that watch is tied to somebody, you know, it has their identity, and, you know, if it gets out, then they're blown, you know.
I have some speculation on where that's going to go. I think they've indicated through Falcon and the Winter Soldier that Agent 13, Sharon, is now the power broker. And we also have Armor Wars coming up, which is, I think, going to be involving, like, you know, what's happening with Stark Tech, Pym Tech, and all this stuff that's going around the world. I think that could come into play there.
Yeah,
that's my speculation, is her past is going to come into play there, and maybe her relationship with Sharon. I don't know if they had one. I mean, she seems a little bit younger than Linda Cardellini is, so who knows how the timeline works there. But that's my speculation on where they're going to go with that character, because I don't see, and I wanted to ask everybody, and if I'm doing wrong and just steer me the wrong way, but I want to see, do you think this is the end of Hawkeye? Clint Barton, you know?
Well, before we answer that question, I've got to. Well, first of all, I need to pop up another poignant piece of commentary from Don. Double yawn.
Yes. That was the alternate name of our show. But,
but no, I want to ask. Will, you mentioned Armor Wars. Is that a new series, or is it like a through line, or what is that? I haven't heard this.
That is going to be a series. Don Cheadle will be in it as War Machine, and I believe, I'm just guessing, I don't know a lot about it, but I believe that Ironheart may be in there somewhere, and I believe that Sharon will play a role in that, because now that she's the power broker, and it's going to involve all this international intrigue, that she will be a major point of that as well.
So there's going to be 8 series next year then.
Well, we don't know when Armor Wars is going to drop, or Ironheart, or if one's going to be before the other. But Armor Wars was a big running, you know, storyline throughout Iron Man comics and maybe some other comics, maybe War Machine in the late 80s, early 90s. So they're basically kind of adapting that story, making an MCU version of it. And yeah, Don Cheadle, or if you saw Barb and Star, it's Don Cheadle.
I'm just thinking, what if in Armor Wars the multiverse opens up and Terrence Howard pops through?
What
or
Black
doing
Knight.
my armor, man.
It's like I said next time, baby. It's time.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll be the Mandarin.
Oh, that would be awesome.
All right. So we'll end on Will's question, because I think it's a great one, because this has been something that we've been sort of speculating about since the beginning of this show, which is this the end of Hawkeye? Now, I'd made the joke that he's going to make it back to his family for Christmas in a body bag, but no, this is in keeping thematically with the tone of this show. It's kind of a heartwarming action adventure comedy, so they're not going to have the big downer ending. And I love it. I think that was the perfect way to tie things up. Don, of course, yes, I think he's done and out. But I don't know anything about the contracts. Like, is Jeremy Renner supposed to be sticking around
That's
the
what I was
MCU or
wondering
what?
too. I don't know if maybe after this season they'll announce something, or they'll say, yeah, this was his last contractual gig. But if we ever do have a Young Avengers, like everybody said, they've all been kind of introduced. They just need to get together. He would be a great kind of mentor to the team, and definitely to her. I don't want to see this partnership end, but I don't necessarily need. I don't know if I need another season of Hawkeye, but I don't want to see this partnership end. So, however it can show up at some point, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jeremy Renner has kind of indicated in interviews, he's like, hey, I'm going to be 50, whatever, and I'm going to be running around in tights. So maybe the actor isn't interested in doing that anymore. But that hasn't stopped anybody. Harrison Ford wanted to kill Han Solo for 35 years. So,
Yeah, and
and
he's coming back in whatever the book.
He'll be 80-year-old Indy.
Yeah,
he is.
He's coming back in Book of Boba too. Headline this morning I saw is that Harrison Ford,
like a de-aged,
is going to be in the Book of Boba. It's Han Solo.
No. I hope they get Anthony Gruber to play him.
They should.
Yeah. What I'll say is
Life Day.
I think Jeremy Renner and the Hawkeye himself is done. I don't think Clint Barton is necessarily done in the MCU. I think he's going to still show up, maybe as cameo. If we move to a second season, it will be more on Kate Bishop, but he'll be there like mentor, training, not necessarily in tights and fighting anymore, because they pretty much were playing out the fact of, I really want to be done fighting.
You make a good point, Mark. Could you guys be open to a season 2 where it's prominently Kate with Clint on the sidelines, kind of like Stallone and Jordan in Creed?
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I think audiences would be up for it too, especially if they like Kate so much, which I did. Haley Steinfeld was, great in the role. Yeah. She really kind of encompassed a lot of the positive energy that her character has in the comics. So I think people will be up for it. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, and this leads me to the first part where I cried, because the way they set this episode up, it felt
partners.
Like no, I did. I'm sorry, I'm cheesy like that, but it was earned because of her acting performance.
Oh yeah,
his acting performance. When he's like, "You're my partner," I was like, but no, they set that up, and I think that they have given Clint so many closures in the last couple episodes, with him addressing Nat at the bridge, burning the Ronin outfit, the Natasha thing with Yelena, having a partner which he's always against, and giving her the title of Hawkeye. Like, would I love to see Jeremy Renner back? Because I love Hawkeye, yes. But I think if they ended the character here, it'd be perfect. It would be just poetic justice.
And by the character, you mean Clint?
Clint, yes, Clint, yes, because Hawkeye, I want to see Kate Bishop all day. So that's great.
I'll push back a little bit on this. I would love to see Haley Steinfeld return in, maybe even as the headliner of Hawkeye season 2, but unless they flash forward like 5 years, she's just beginning her journey. Like, I think she needs that mentorship, or even I like what you were saying, David, with the Young Avengers. If Clint kind of took over that leadership role, just so that she has, somebody to mentor her. Yeah. Because as good as she is, it's not, going to be I hope it doesn't become like a Rey Skywalker situation, where by the end of the third movie, or like, week 3 in that storyline, that she's like, taking down the Emperor.
I mean, honestly, if Wanda gets her act together, I could totally see Wanda and Clint overseeing Young Avengers.
You're calling it. I would add Sam Wilson as well. Yeah, I think Sam would come in there. He's already. We've introduced Iron Patriot, or whatever. Patriot, is that his name? The Young Avenger?
The Patriot.
Yeah. We met him. Patriot, I think it's perfectly set up with these shows too, to have Wanda, Sam Wilson, Kate Bishop. Just kind of mix those together and have them be leaders.
But just as far as leaders, just have them mentor. I mean, it's like you can have a leader on this young team, probably Patriot or something like that, but they still need to know how to be a team. and these
Sure.
adults, these
Yeah.
veterans, could show them that. That would be cool.
Yeah.
It
That'd be
seems
great.
like it's a perfect setup for a new Avengers team.
Yeah, they're not going to
Right.
abandon. They're not
Yeah.
going to abandon some of these characters. They're going to keep them around.
Yeah.
and have them. Because a lot of these shows, and I'm starting to see a little bit of the light with why these Disney Plus shows exist a little bit, is because they are trying to flesh out characters that maybe didn't get as much in the movies, like Vision, and because there's still a Vision out there somewhere. There's a white Vision out there. There's Wanda's out there. We'll see what happens with her in Doctor Strange 2. You've introduced all these young Avengers. Clint is still alive. Sam Wilson's alive. Bucky Barnes is still alive.
Thor's out there.
Thor is still out there. The Guardians are still out there. So you never know, what they're going to do. But I do think that some of it is to give them the chance to headline these things. Because when you think about it, Hawkeye is the only original Avenger that did not have a movie. But I think it shows that he can carry a show.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's making you believe that. Because there's a lot of people that I've seen, a lot of skeptical people that were like, "Oh, a Hawkeye show? Who wants to fucking watch that?" Sorry.
It shows you what they know.
Right, and it was.
I'm
great.
sitting right here, guys.
Yeah.
I
won't be ignored.
I think if we got a Hawkeye origin story, it wouldn't do as well as this Hawkeye TV show because his character, the way he was at the beginning, you're like, okay, he's a guy that can shoot good. That's the way they established him. They didn't do much with him. They introduced more elements across the MCU. So this is a great time to give you the Hawkeye story because now he's had a lot more experience and we've had some familiarity with him. And he's still that street level character like we've all talked about. And I think if they would have gave him when he was younger, the early origin, it probably wouldn't have worked for audiences. But now it's like he's familiar, but now we're getting a chance for him to shine and see, while all these super guys are doing this, he's taking, mixed drinks, frozen ones and icing them.
It's selective because, like, for instance, we don't really technically get an origin for Thor.
Right.
Like he's been around for like 1,500 years at that point. We get his origin story of the hammer, like how that works. But I think it's selective. Like you got to be selective. Like I think Hawkeye is too much like Black Widow in terms of his history to make that story or an origin story. So to take and I think I said on one of the prior episodes that Joss Whedon really messed up Hawkeye in the first Avengers movie. Yeah, and they've been playing catch up ever since. And finally, they were able to take. It actually ended up working to their advantage because I think this show works because of the negative reaction to Hawkeye, the fact that he isn't a popular Avenger. This show works because of that now. So they found a way to twist what they messed up on and actually have it work for them.
They played to it.
Yeah, we've talked a bit about this, and I'm a true believer now because I never liked Hawkeye, and now I'm kind of sad that if this is his swan song, I'm like, no, this is you've just kicked open the door. Now we've got to bust through it.
Speaking of kicking open the door,
yes, we are. Sejua is here finally. He just got back from the new Spider-Man.
He demeaned himself by doing that. He went and saw the cinema. How did you do that, Sejua? I am disappointed in you. You went against your morals.
Listen, this is the end of the episode.
Sejua has no morals.
Hey, this is the end of the episode. We are not going to open up a whole Spidey cinema Scorsese discussion right now.
Crack open the portal.
Final ep of Hawkeye was pretty good.
No,
Florence Pugh was just regular on this.
That's getting old. It's getting old.
Well, but no, it's. I will say
it was not very good. Make up your mind. It was pretty good or not?
I think he's talking. I think he's talking about Spider-Man. But
too much joy for him to handle.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to agree to disagree. Oh wait, hold on. I was not feeling well today. Cheap movie was $5. Chill.
Maybe $5 Wednesday.
Well, if he can find a $5 movie in New York, I want to know where that cinema is.
Well, I don't know. You might have to triple X.
All right. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
Is not very good.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Okay. We're gonna leave that there on the floor because okay. $6. That's $6 Wednesday. Wow, things are different all over because I've heard of $5 Tuesdays out here, but Bay Ridge Alpine Cinema. You are giving all the deets.
Plug.
Yeah, I love that place.
Yeah.
No idea where.
All right. So here's the deal. We are at the end of Hawkeye.
Oh,
6
come
episodes
on.
and done. I know, right? So usually we've got like a month and a half hiatus between shows, but no, in fact, there's a brand new Disney Plus show coming out next week.
Oh, here we
It's
go.
a
Drum roll.
It's the show we've been talking about, kind of teasing in this
'Tis the
episode.
season.
We're going to be talking about Star Wars. We're going to be talking about Boba Fett. And we're going to be talking about, let me see if I can actually do this.
Here he goes.
Wait, no. Is this right?
It's not gonna work.
Nah, I don't know.
No?
I have no idea if this is going to.
Can't do it?
No, that's my Gmail. I don't want that to open.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing. If Harrison Ford does show up in that show, I will pull Werner Herzog and I will eat a shoe on this program. I don't even watch Star Wars, so I don't care. But I'll show up and eat a shoe if that happens.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, because I think he's going to be the de-aged Harrison Ford, as Mark was alluding to, right? So,
I hope it's voiced by Mark Hamill.
Yeah, that would be good.
Kid.
You want to
Just can't say these lines, kid.
okay, I'm gonna try this again because I
Do
think
it.
this might actually
You can
work.
do it.
Let me see. And okay, share. StreamYard.
Share.
Okay.
Shares in Boba Fett?
Can you all see this?
Whoa.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Boba Fett
The
book
Boba
club.
Fett book club. Yes.
So good.
So we'll be talking about this starting next.
Nice.
Wait, oh, the 22nd. That's today. So it'll be actually the
Boba Fett
29th.
book
This
club.
stuff.
Hey, I haven't
Yes.
seen it yet. Let's talk about it, guys. So,
Let's talk about this book of Boba Fett.
Okay, so I gotta change the
another
date.
hour?
Download the script
Yeah, so it'll be-
online.
it'll be-
Bro. The
You'll
book
be
of
at
Boba Fett.
the Brobo Fett book club. I love it. No, okay, so I got to change the date. That was me working up the
change it right
logo
now.
at 4:00 this morning. So yeah, we'll be back 8:30 p.m. next Wednesday. Now, here's the thing. It's going to be a little bit different because this is kind of picking up from What If He Doesn't Survive, which is our Mandalorian series, co-hosted by David and Mike. We're going to be doing a rotating series of guest hosts for each episode, taken from the ranks of Earth's Mightiest Critics. So we're going to have one guest each week. So we have 4 total talking heads. We might do like a larger group thing for like the finale or something, but gonna keep it a little bit more intimate. And that does mean there will be kissing. Okay, so last comment from Don. This was the ideal spot for Hawkeye. No feature film needed.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Mhm.
But all right. Anyway, this has been HawkTalk. I appreciate all of you and all of you who could not make it, including Don. And also Annie out there. I hope you're enjoying a lovely meal. And yeah, am always Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck from the Spoiler Room. We have Will Johnson from the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast, and Don Shanahan of the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast, and David Fowlie of Keeping It Real, and Mike Crowley of 25 Years Later NYPA Reviews. You'll probably agree. Whew. Okay, and okay, so Sajiwa will also that 12/29. Yeah, we have dueling shows. He's going to be recording the Slow Romance Holiday Special podcast next week. So there's going to be some overlap. 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. Central. So yeah, but here's the thing: you're going to be recording that to be posted at a different time. I imagine we're going to be live, so there's not really a conflict. But yeah, so here's the thing. Join us next week, and then also check out Sajiwa's Slow Romance special to be
Join
posted
us
at some point determined. Yes, I like the Darth Vader, fist.
or die.
That's a great way to end things. So yes, thank you everybody. It's been another. What?
Sorry.
The
was
slow.
my Darth Vader. That was my Darth Vader nose.
Is that-
Oh, right.
I
right.
thought that was someone waking up in
Sorry.
the morning and just
Wanted to end on a high note. HawkTalk go out with a bang.
HawkTalk.
Well, I gotta
We'll
say
miss you,
thank you.
HawkTalk.
I didn't even put the logo up. See, here's the thing. I none of the logos are up here in the.
I was
branding.
wondering where it went.
The thing is, my son has started a YouTube channel, and so he's been using StreamYard to record his videos. So we've been in and out of the same studio. Yeah, he is. If anyone's into Terraria, the video game, his channel is called Lunatic Bagel on YouTube. He's doing little like playthroughs and tutorials and stuff. So
I'm just
you
gonna
can go
watch
and
it just
throw him a
for Mini
subscribe.
Ian.
You're gonna be disappointed. He's not on camera.
That was the deal. You could have a channel, but you can't be on camera.
No, that's his choice. He's not vain like me. Will, what's up?
I just want to say that you're all my partners.
And that's why we must always use protection. Anyway, but yes, we are all partners. We're all friends. And I do appreciate this wonderful year of great conversations. And here's to more in 2022. We've had some new, team members on the show. And I think it's just all wonderful. And I appreciate everything that you bring, your passion and your love and your tolerance for putting up with this on a weekly basis for months on end. So thank you. Mike, did you have something you want to say?
Did I win the ugly sweater gift card?
Yeah, I think so.
Gift card. It'll be in the mail. No, Mike, you look like you wanted to say something.
Oh no, I just wanted to say, everybody have happy holidays or Merry Christmas. The war on Christmas should become a new part of the Disney canon. But anyways,
I'm still fighting a war on Grandpa.
War on Grandpa.
How about a war on bad Grandpa? No, Johnny Knoxville forever. Anyway, this has been Hawk Talk. Thank you, everybody. Yes, well, and yes, we will. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. Positive note from Sajiwa. We need the Aunt May show would watch.
What?
I could drop a spoiler right now, be very snarky, but I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I could
Would
so...
just be a black screen the whole
Yeah.
time.
It's just
Wow.
very.
Cut to black like the Sopranos.
It'd be very quiet. Let's just put it down.
No spoilers for Spider-Man.
It says
Okay.
we're talking spoilers down at the bottom.
Yeah.
For Hawkeye.
Good for Hawkeye. I don't want to do that to people because there are like 5 people left on the planet who did not pay money to see
I
Spider-Man
do
this
wish
week.
they would have done it like they did in the comic, and at least one episode have somebody call him HawkEye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
was
maybe
fun.
they did. Maybe they did with the
Bros.
Tracksuit Mafia.
Yeah.
We just didn't. It just
Yeah.
sounded that ran together in the
Correct.
accent. All right, I'm ending this. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, and this has been Hawk Talk.